Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to Trade Setup in the live stream for the 16th of November. Hope we're all doing well. Another interesting night overnight in the US. Another big night. Continue it on from last week's positivity. Um, so we'll have a bit of a chat about that in a minute. We'll go through obviously a few things today. We'll start off with just taking a look at the markets. What we're looking at, we'll mainly have a look at the S&P, the ASX for today and how it opened and what sort of price action we saw last night. And also we'll go through the Aussie dollar, take a look at a couple of things. If there's anything else, outside the stocks that people want to look at, whether it's gold, just a chart of gold, or it could be the euro, could be the DAX, could be the FTSE, anything really. As long as I can get it up there, we'll take a bit of a look at a chart if you want. So just put it through to chat. You can whack it in the chat, or just put it through to uh, support at tradesetup.com.au. All right. We're going to take it. So we're going to go through today. We're going to have a look at some banks. Our focus is going to be looking at the, well, not some banks, but the majors. We'll look at those and just where we see them, or what we see the price action on those just currently, and whether they could potentially be down the track a good buy. They could be starting to show signs of people jumping in, and just reasoning behind, what I'm personally thinking about the banks, and obviously linked up to interest rates and the housing market and all that sort of stuff. Excuse me. So we'll have a bit of a chat about that, but we'll just chat about sort of the key ones that I like, mainly Westpac. What else we got there? NAB, I don't mind, and might look at Bank of Queensland. We'll take a look at a few anyway. All right. Yeah. One thing I'll just we'll start off with is just looking at the markets, and then at the end we've got a couple of people sent through some charts and just something to look at. We've actually got a trade from Anne-Marie in here, so we'll have a look at that too and just see how she went and what my thoughts are. I actually don't mind it at all. I think it was quite good, but just had a glance at it before, so we'll chat about that towards the end. All right, let's start it. Let's get it kicked off. Let's just get rid of. Oh, sorry. Just before we keep going, I had the disclaimer up there. We just got to put that up at the start, just to make sure that we all understand it's just a general advice discussion on the markets and what we see. There's no specific advice of where we think it's going and what. It's just just chatting about levels and what the potential of the markets could do, what we think, and where we sort of see the price action heading. All right, so we'll put that up on the start of each session, just to, if you have a quick read over. It's going to be a bit cumbersome at first, but yeah, just bear with us. All right, let's get into it then, guys. All right, it's the ASX. We kick it off. We had the US was up. I think it was about. I'm looking at the E-mini was about 12, 13 points, somewhere around there. So it was up. It was up. Had a fairly strong session again, and the Dow was up with it. I think they started off a bit weak. The Dow come under a bit of pressure just on the open, and then sort of hold the lows, and then just headed up for the rest of the session into the close. Obviously, that's people are still repositioning themselves, whether they got caught out. We don't know what happened over the elections, but obviously a Trump victory wasn't taken well. The market sold off, and then once he won, they turned around and rallied. So it'd be interesting to see if this can continue on. We did open up today on the ASX a bit stronger, but we haven't really sustained it. We're just sort of selling off into support at the moment. You can see that. What was it, around 10:30? Also that green candle, so it opened up quite positive, which you would have expected. Opened up a bit stronger after what happened in the US, and Europe was also up. You would have expected that, and then it sort of just sold off to where we are now, around the 53.30 mark. Just testing that sort of breakout. It's not support just at the moment, but you can see as the last few half an hours candles have just been rejected off that level. Whether it just continues on and we head more into oversold territory, that would be interesting to see if it can just. We may just drift lower during the day, build a bit of a base towards the end of the close. A few failed continuation lower and see how we go, and then probably build for what could be another good night in the US. But at the moment, it's just still remembering what the daily chart. Actually, we'll get that up. Just keep in the back of your mind what the ASX is doing on the daily basis. If I can get that up there, let's just put it there. All right, so we've discussed this previously. It's just you've got those higher lows building. We've got that a major higher higher, and then that minor inside higher lower high just there, which sort of led to a sell-off. Built a in context of this move up, built another high low, and then really we had that major at 5,500, major lower high in context of that 5,600 high, and then rolled over. We had a big washout over the election, which touched down at 50.50. But really, that daily chart had a big reaction off that as the US was positive. Big reaction back up through 53.50 up towards 5,400. But it looks like, that could still come into play. We're getting sort of stretched. That move up from 50.50 is quite stretched at the moment. You can see from the stochastics. No reason why it can't continue. It could just sort of consolidate for a while and then hold those gains and then pop up through the highs and continue on up. We don't know at the moment. But yeah, just keep in the back of your mind why. The US can be positive, but it's interesting that the Aussies, our market, ASX, just opened up sort of strong like we would expect, and then just sort of selling off. Had a bit of a sell-off anyway. What are we up at the moment? I think up only 6 points at the moment. So we're only probably been up about 20 to 25 at one stage just towards the open, and a lot of time spent up 10 to 15, and then it's just sort of slowly grinding lower. But we'll see how that plays out. So I'll just get those charts back up. So the 30-minute, we could just see, I'll get rid of this. This is what we're looking at overnight. That type of price structure though, and just saying that, had a big high at 53.81. If we can see that. 53.81, bit of a wash out of those highs, and then we've ground. But the key level really was that 50, where is it, 52.80, 52.85, this support base through here. It has pulled up a bit short, and we've just broken some inside lower highs around that 53.30 mark. So we could just be finding that's nice price structure to build another higher low somewhere. It could be right at the support level at 53.30. It could be a bit lower, could grind a bit lower today, but we'd like to see evidence of it building a higher low, which could really then buyers stepping up and buying back into the market and pushing it back up towards that resistance at 53.80 or 82, 85. With that mark up there. Yeah, but so it's not looking too bad at the moment. Still a bit of action to play out, but just in the back of your mind, always just keep it in the back of your mind, that daily chart. So any weakness, if you're trading intraday especially, just keep on your toes, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Alrighty, let's go just over to the Aussie. Now we're looking at that support holding at 75.26. What you got to remember with the Aussie, which you can do quite a lot. It's just washout levels, especially if there's another support, a key level anywhere close. If the market's going up and it's heading into resistance, and there's a sort of two levels that are fairly close, it tends to wash out one, where it can just catch out traders, especially after you can see this price action here. It's held up through 75.26. It's pushed up through those sort of inside lower highs at 75.63. Let's just get that out of the way, actually. Just clean it up. All right. So you can see that level through here. Just taking out those sort of lower highs, but then it's sort of, you expected that to be a higher low just in here, just to build, and then we would have liked to seen another sort of curving base build, high lows build for a projection through this high at 75.80 thereabouts. But what the Aussie does tend to do a lot is just washout zones, so it just headed south. I don't know if that was just on the open. Yeah, it was obviously over numbers at midnight or just 12:30 last night. So I think it's retail sales that come out. Obviously the US dollar's done well, but it's still holding up above that what's that, 75.15 support. So it's still holding that up. So it could just be a washout. We could be potentially holding the base, some high lows in here, but we've got to take out a few of these levels at 75.65 and so on, just build our way back up, stair step our way back up. But it's starting to hold those support levels. We'll see how that goes in the coming days. Again, this is an hourly chart, so 30-minute chart, sorry, let's just delete that. Right, the S&P, you can see what happened there. The market was holding lower highs at the moment, but then it was actually building some good base through here at 21.52, built a higher low. So that sell-off couldn't continue, and it's holding these longer term after the election. They should just drag it out. So it's holding the highs in here, and it's built some high lows. It's just pushed up through, the election highs around 2184. So it's just teetering up there at the moment. If this price action is going to continue, we want to see those, contraction back, hold another high low, go again, take out the highs, pull back, just stair stepping its way up. Sooner or later it's going to get a bit stretched, which it could be just getting a bit stretched up to the highs now. But we'll see how that goes tonight. But it would have been you can see this type of price action, if we can just get rid of all this, is really nice. Okay, so what we've just got in here, price action here is nice. You can see there's a high low hit held. If we can just draw that up. Just bear with us a second there, guys. So we've got a high low here, another high low built in here. As the market's moving back up, it's still holding lower highs, but when you get that type of price action, it's getting a bit choppy. You can see that the range is getting a bit narrow. That the lower highs, it's contracting right in on itself. A buy through here would have been really nice, even just through these top side there. You can see that accelerated just starting to happen there. If that's going to draw it in, just through there, and you've got your risk base just down here, which would have been a really nice sort of risk reward trade, aiming through, especially when you're at the top side of that and you're holding higher lows into a resistance zone. As it's squeezing back down, you can see that's just contracting. A breakout through that high would have been a really nice type of entry strategy. You don't know if it's just going to push through that 2178, but by then you could have raised your risk to break even at least, and we've just continued on with it. So that's a great example of a nice, and that's a half an hour chart, so you had a bit of time to play with that one, but really risk reward was really nice on that. Probably 2 to 1 about now, somewhere around there. All right. I guess, does anyone want to take a look at anything just before we flick over to the banks and start discussing the banks? Does anyone want to take a quick look at gold or euro or anything like that? I only asked that so I can have a sip of coffee. Alrighty. Well, let's get going and let's take a look at, we'll start off with, alright, I'll just give you my opinion of what I'm sort of, the reasoning behind it, along with the charts, obviously. I mean, you need, like I've said, I guess previously, I don't dwell on the fundamentals as much as a lot of other people. GXY, I'll just write that down. We'll have a look at that. I was actually just looking at that before there, Clement. We'll take a look at that a bit later on. We'll get through this and then just towards the end have a bit of a chat about that. So if you're not around, just go through the stream later on, the recording. If so, we'll have a chat about that soon anyway. So just trying to get an overall economic view of what could be happening with the banks. My view is obviously a lot of it's just based around, or pretty much all of it, I guess, with the banks is based around interest rates, and obviously a major part of their books is the housing. I know myself, I'm just looking at, we're going to offload our unit. We want to get rid of that at the moment. I feel that probably it's the trader in me, that it's gone quite hard. The market's getting, I mean, my wife will sit there and discuss it with me and say she could go high, could go high. I mean, that's fair enough. But I think the way it is at the moment, it's quite stretched, just getting a bit out of the realms. I think prices are getting quite high, in my opinion anyway. But the banks have really made out on that. They've done quite well with their mortgages. Now, as rates have gone down, I guess people have borrowed a bit more than probably what they should. We don't know what's happening within, I mean, I don't know personally anyway what their criteria is now. If lending's got a bit harder, a bit more stringent, a bit more red tape to get through to get a loan. When I got my loan, I got a 100% loan, so that was when things were starting to kick off about 8 years ago. So we got lucky. They took that off just after the GFC. They got rid of that, and you couldn't get a 100% loan anymore. So I think if their lending's tightened up quite a bit, knowing that sooner or later people are going to start having problems, especially when interest rates look to turn. Which, look, I'm not saying they are, but I think looking forward, like the markets do, like traders do, like you should do, I guess. Looking forward to what the potential could happen. You've got to have some sort of basis behind things, especially when you're looking to place trades or when you're looking to build a I guess an idea, and from there what you get is obviously fundamental view, what you think could happen, and then looking at some charts, which we'll do in a second. But yeah, I think if we saw a CPI number that surprised on the upside. I think it was just about a month ago, a few weeks ago probably. It was a fair bit stronger than what they expected. So if we start getting some good figures out, and we've been dropping rates, the Aussies, RBA's been dropping rates for a while now, and it seems to be supported where they are now. I don't think they're going to be really dropping anymore unless something untoward happens, but they haven't got far to go anyway, much leeway. So if we start seeing some good numbers coming through, good economic numbers, which is really putting inflationary pressures, the RBA starts seeing some inflationary pressures pop up, like CPI and a few other things, then traders will be looking, whether it happens or not, is we'll start looking towards a rate rise. Now you know that when the RBA has the RBA statement or the minutes, anything like that, they're starting to really focus in on those and seeing what they're saying, seeing what sort of rhetoric they're using towards rates. So if there's any view or anyone starts thinking that they're going to raise rates, I guess the banks, all their mortgages loans, are going to get obviously more money for those, a better return on their mortgages as rates rise. But I guess the flip side of that too is that if people are leveraged a bit, we might have a few foreclosures. So there's a bit of that. How were they financed? Whether it was stringent or it was a bit loose on their financing, or are they going to get hurt if we get a few rate rises? I think it's more than just one. It takes more than just one for things to get a bit tight for people. I know myself. I could. It'll be fine with a couple of rate rises. So I think that may not kick in for a while, but I think initially, if we start seeing good numbers, potential rate rises, even a rate rise, further down the track, and it starts getting talked about more, the odds for a rate rise, I think you'll start seeing some action in the banks, and that's sort of the basis for what I'm seeing. I don't see as much downside as upside. Okay, so I guess that's what we're looking at. We're just trying to assess the risk both ways. Like I think I was speaking yesterday, just trying to get in your head. Don't just try to be neutral more than biased either way. If you can keep your head neutral and just assess both sides of the situation, the reasons for going long, reasons for going short, reasons for buying or selling, and just assess that and what sort of probability or what risk is associated with each way. I see less risk on the upside as the downside. Trying to sell into the market, I think, is a bit riskier at the moment, especially on the banks, and that's my basic view why. Anyone keen to jump in, whether I'm talking rubbish or not? I won't take it to heart. I probably will, but anyway, feel free to say something. But that's the way I sort of see it. I think it's obviously linked to rates. All right. So now what we've seen is, like I said before, any trade, any trader, any investor, anything like that, the longer term guys and the bigger players are looking well ahead. They're not looking just what's happening now, waiting to see what the number is, then acting. They're planning ahead. They're planning trades. Okay. Has it been enough time with these markets have been pulling back and just sort of grinding lower as to so I just saw something flicking around then, a couple of shares. Has it been a good contraction in the banks? We're starting to see some basis built. Is it time to start jumping in? Are they starting to buy up? We're starting to see failed lows, failed continuation lower after support's holding. A few may have popped out to the top side. I know Westpac, I don't mind that. We'll look at that in a second. Showing a bit of size of buyers stepping in, less selling, and see that the tide's starting to turn. Is that because of rates? We don't know, but that's, I guess, the way you're going to assess the whole picture. So let's just start off. We'll take a quick look. I haven't looked at this, to be honest, but that's not what I wanted. All right, let's just get. I like looking at, and this is what I guess we can all do, is also just taking a look at sectors, having a bit of a sector analysis. It's not a big reason to go through them all the time, but I like to just keep an eye on them, just to sort of see what structure they're showing, what bias they're showing as well. I mean, that's pretty much identical to a lot of the banking charts. So this is obviously the financial sector. XFJ you should be able to get this data somewhere. You should be able to chart it somewhere. I'm not sure if our platform charts it, but you'll probably get some charts on the ASX as well anyway. But you're looking at that. That's a weekly chart. Let's take a look at a monthly. So we've had a good run up here. The GFC got sold off quite heavily, and then that 2009 when everything started turning, pulled back, failed, continuation lower. On the monthly, this is a longer term view, don't forget, and we've had that leg up towards above 7,000. So we had that action lower, reaction. Obviously still a bit of negativity, a little minor double top there, lower high, push lower, but then buyers have stepped in. That was mid 2011, so it's funny talking about these over a couple of years, but that's the price action there. And then we've had that long extended move up from mid 2011 till, what was it, the start of 2015. So a good few years of the banks looking positive, just pushing up. Obviously that coincides with a good healthy housing market. And then we obviously, as they've dropped rates, they've started to tighten up a bit. You've seen that sell off a bit, but yeah, that looks to me we're starting to get that contraction in there. If we drop it down to weekly, it might be a bit clearer, but you can see these moves up. You can see initially before we took out this high, we've had a little push up, a bit of a pullback. I'm sure we can all see that. Yep, bit of a pullback. Sort of grind higher. We only just took out the highs. Good sell off only over a couple of weeks, and then built a few weeks of a base there, and then we started having these longer extended moves higher, and then this really shallow pullback. Once we took out those highs, I think it was 42.50. I guess we can see that. Yep, just in here. Once we took out those highs just in here, you can see with this move up, it's a really shallow pullback, and then we got a good strong move higher, and that was a lot longer. The move was a lot higher, more vertical too, and then you had a bit of a contraction lower, and then we started getting another move up, contraction, another move up, not taking out the highs significantly, and then more consolidation through here towards the end of 2014, and then that pop higher, and then we just sort of been from there, after that accelerated move higher, you start to expect, okay, this has had a good leg up over a few years now. What's going to happen? We built that lower high, and then we'd expect contraction. Once we get that lower high, lows taken out, and we start putting pressure down, then I think people will be exiting who've potentially bought it in here around 4,000. Bought into the bank's portfolio, whoever pushed it higher, and now we're getting that contraction lower, that grinding lower. All right. So what we're starting to see now is high low starting to step in. Buyers just starting to step in this market, and then starting to attack those highs. A key level on this anyway, the XFJ, is really just this high. What was that? It's around 63.35 thereabouts. So we're a little ways off that at the moment, but we've seen that consolidation now. We don't know if that's just going to topple over, or this support level is starting to hold, and that goes in conjunction of why with rates and things like that. If rates start popping up, and the mortgage loan, they've got a good sized book now, all the banks on mortgages, better return on their book with higher rates, and then that's starting to work its way back up. Now that's why I'm starting to see, and I don't mind it so much. I like the look of these sort of charts. We've got the lower highs. We're starting to get the lows holding. Another continuation. Tried to reaction lower. It's pulled short of this low, and another which just popped up a bit, taking out these highs. Tried again. And we're starting to just consolidating through here. Most of this year, just consolidating. Between those highs and these lows through here. Now, if we just go to the daily, make sure that stands out a bit better. You can just see those reaction lower, pop back up, really not getting too far, pushing back down again. So at the moment, we've had that big reaction over the Trump or the elections, and then those last few days have been quite positive. And we're just popping out to the top side there. So that's the sector. So if we start looking at a few banks, we'd expect to see similar price action, and just seeing if these lows are holding, we're getting support holding. If these lower highs into support are starting to get broken, and what sort of pictures are we seeing there? I'll start off with Westpac because I kind of like that. Get rid of we don't need to say too much about what their earnings. Everyone knows they're doing quite well. No issue with what they're making on the books. Yeah, so we can see similar type of price action. It's worked its way up from mid 2011. It made some new highs, had that big run up at the start of 2015, and then just dropped, bang, straight down. I don't know if that coincided. I don't know when they started easing off on rates. I couldn't tell you. If anyone does know, just whack it in the chat. And then we're seeing those lower highs hold the market down, making some new lower lows, but only mildly. You can see that price action had a bit of a push down just recently. That, well, not recently, but middle of the year, down to 27.57. Just took out the previous low here at 27.69. So if we can draw that, we'll actually draw that up. All right, don't forget this is Westpac. So this is one I've been watching for a while. I think we've actually alerted it previously. Not much success, but it did washed us out and then popped up. So I guess been a bit too aggressive on that entry. All right. So what we can see is a good level through here, and we just started holding these higher lows at 28 bucks. And then what I've found interesting is taking out these lower highs in here, and we haven't, it's nothing too significant just yet, but there's more of a significant levels at 32, and we've touched up on that. I think it's just straight after this is a weekly chart, I think. That was just after, those highs were just after the day after when the US just bounced hard. Just bear with me a second there, guys. All right, so we can see yeah, after we had the election, it had that big push down. I can't remember what day it was. I think it was Wednesday, and then Wednesday night the US bounced really hard. So the next day, following day, we just popped straight back up, and straight up into 32. So that's that price action just through here. I like that sort of. We're holding some high lows just in here. We've got one here, got one just in here. That looks quite nice. So I mean, there's nothing just yet. I mean, it could be early stages, but we're starting to see early signs of failed continuation lower and some support forming. We've got a major level through here at 27, then 28 held, tested a couple of times, even a bit of a wash out of that level, and then some high lows just after that. And don't forget, this is a weekly basis, so that's over the period of quite a long time, a few months at least, 3-4 months. And then we're starting to get attacking those lower highs. So it'll be interesting to see if we can work our way up through 32. And what I'd like to see on Westpac, remember, just planning ahead of what we could see. We just draw those support lines. Well, this one's a bit more insignificant, but right. So we've just come in here, a bit of a washout, and we're starting to hold these higher lows. Sort of still contracting. Hold a lower high as well. Just if we can see that just in here, a lower high as we got that push down through. After the election, built another higher low, and then we've just come up straight up, bang, straight through that resistance zone into that secondary 32. All right, so what we'd like to see from here ideally is maybe we get that pop through. We push. Actually, we're not actually there, are we? We pull back to here, even lower actually. So if we get that push back up through here, pop through that 32, and that's going to be more signs to bring in some buyers, I'd expect, and then just contract a bit, build some higher lows maybe, and then we could be off that more accelerated move after the break of potentially 32. And I think that could be really bringing some buyers, and we started taking up towards 34. Obviously it's going to take some time to play out, but I see this sort of structure I quite like anyway. Any questions on that, guys? Anyone that's what we like to see, that curving type of structure, and you're starting to see, the MAs are contracting in. If we get into the daily, might be a better show there. Yeah, it's still choppy, obviously, but the MAs are starting to show signs that they're rolling up. I think there's still a bit of work to do. Obviously, we may contract a bit, consolidate a bit, build another high low, and then you might see there we start getting some accelerated moves higher. All right, let's take a look at NAB. NAB, we'll just draw that up as well. Just go through these. Let's go on a different chart actually. Has anyone got their favorite? Has anyone been looking at banks? And if so, what banks have you got on the radar at the moment? You can see, we'll just quickly look at NAB. I think we've held some support through here, that 18-19 zone. It did push off with the GFC again. Similar type of price action. It had a failed low around the $20 mark after, you know, pop up off start of 2009. Similar type of price action. Had a good leg up into the beginning of 2015, and then some fairly heavy selling down to 24. And this is a monthly again, don't forget. So really, it's still within context of these highs, you know, the 44 and 15, the GFC highs and lows. We're still within, and we potentially, it looks good to build, if we can get that. What I like is it's got, looking at it, I mean, it's very early days, but I don't mind the look of this, an area to build a higher low in here. So working off that higher low. The MAs have turned down, so we may just see a lower high build. We may see the price action just push up here and then roll over from there. We don't know, but again, it comes down to the view of rates and what could happen in those. They're going to put pressure on the bank, or nothing's going to happen, not going to move for a while. You know, your view on that. But it's now what we're doing is really just watching and keeping an eye on these and just searching for setups. All right, so that monthly we've got, you know, could be stuck in a channel. It could be the bottom end of the channel. Looking towards these is 36. Even if it builds a lower high, it could be up there. It's a lot of fat in that trade. If we get a nice little setup down here somewhere, let's just go to a weekly. Just drill on that a bit. Alright. Yeah, but I don't mind that either. So we've got this touch down there twice, you know, double bottom down there. So what we've done, you can see this leg down, it's quite a strong leg. After that good move up, that big washout of the highs, through the highs, major washout through there, and then we just sold off, built a lower high, edged our way lower with lower highs through here. What it's done is accelerated down to 24, dropped down to 24, bounced back off, had a go. When it took out these highs, you can see that just a mild, so really that's a double top more than anything else. I would count it more as a double top, not a, you know, a continuation. And you just, because this is the key level at that stage, what we're looking at, this is a key level through at 30, holding the market down, holding at least this leg down. We could easily get contraction, and as long as it's below there, you know, could test up towards there. It didn't quite get there, then it rolled over. But what you saw, a bit of contraction high. You've got 1, 2, built a higher low through here, pop up, accelerated down, and retest support at 24. Or those lows from prior lows, getting mumbled up a bit there. But you can see, yeah, Michael, we'll take a look at that. That'll be the next thing we look at. Yep, you can see that accelerated back down there, and then it's failed. Okay, that's starting to hold at 24. So early signs yet. That we've got another key level now that's at 29.50. We could just do the similar type of thing within context of this leg down. I can mark that in a different color. Context of that leg lower. That's not a nice color. I like prettier colors, guys, if you didn't notice. Alright, so we've got that leg down. That's the anchor pretty much holding it down at 29.50. We could just be contracting back up, and we could make a leg down again. So we could just be, you know, we've seen type of price action like that. You know, major move down, we're back up sort of through here. It may just be a double top forming at 28.50, a bit like this, you know, below this anchor, push back up and then roll over and just go bang straight through. You don't know, but we've seen signs of that's holding up. So if we do take away this leg, if we start getting, oh, that's not very nice, this move and it's back up to these highs, and instead of that move down, we're getting more this type, this type of price action consolidated in, and it starts to build these high and hold those high lows. We may get, you know, once we start getting through those highs, a bit of contraction in there, and starting to get that would just drag in a few more buyers, because it starts forming that higher low in here at 24. That starts to be confirmed through here, especially when you start building another one. Okay, so we've got a bit of price action to do, like what I would want to see, but again, just planning ahead. And if we can get up through this key level at 29.50, like we're talking about Westpac before, we've got a key level up at, I think it was 32, around 32. We get through that key level, then that starts to drag in buyers, and if you start seeing push up through here, shallow pullback. That's not even good drawing it there. Just give me a tick. Push up through there, shallow pullback, even a little mild contraction, it's starting to hold that highs above 29.50. You probably I would expect to see an accelerated move up as buyers don't want to miss the boat and start potentially chasing it up. But I think what we would like to see is these earlier signs. You might get a pop up there, but these higher lows starting to hold. It's worth the risk after you're coming out. You're going from a basing pattern. We're attacking those highs, or just waiting to see a bit of movement there. Pop through the highs, that key level. Bit of consolidation, even holding those highs, building some inside higher lows through here. We can see, and then that accelerated move up. That's what we'd be looking for. Okay, and that's obviously once we're following those. If we start seeing that type of price action, it'll be coming through the TradeSetup app as alerts. All right, any question on that one there? On NAB? I hope they do well because that's who I bank with. All right, we'll look at ANZ. ANZ is very much similar to NAB. Yeah, very much similar. Oh, get a bigger picture. Yeah, they've all got this move down through the GFC, pop up, held the highs, a lower high potentially, and then it's pushed back, washed out a few late long positions in here, built that higher low, and then just held that, and it's starting to, we could be in that zone again where this is potentially a higher low, a bit more price action to play out, but there is a chance that if they start raising rates, that sort of action, we could start seeing buyers step up to the plate. Just look at the weekly, but again, I guess there's no real need just to draw that up there, but we can see that type of price action holding at 22, a really minor higher low through here at 23. It's taken out a key level, 26. But actually, we will draw this up. We'll get onto the daily. Yep. All right, let's just go here. 2-week high last week, and EMA is moving north. Yeah, that's what we like to see too on the dailies. So you're sort of going with the flow rather than against it. And just as a side topic, guys, what I'm with the alerts, what we're looking at, so it hasn't been fantastic for setup. So even though we've had the reaction to the elections, it was initially quite negative. The market sold off hard, and then the US, they popped up and they pushed through where they started off, pushed straight through those highs. So it obviously started at a key point, pushed lower over the elections, and Trump won. And then the US, they were sold down heavily, then just bounced straight back in their night session. So what we're seeing, we don't know. Remembering the ASX chart, the overall ASX chart, the daily, whether we are at that point where it's just been a good reaction to that, and whether we're going to hold that lower high on a daily basis and head south, we don't know. But what we're finding with the alerts is just these the setups. What we like to see, they're a bit harder to find, and we're not getting as many setups. We've seen a lot of action where they're hitting a good zone. They're in a zone to buy, but I mean, you don't buy just because chuck a limit order in there and buy from that respect. You need to see the price action. You need to see psychology behind it, behind the price action play out, and you just failed continuation lower. You want to see those higher lows build, and then just a bit of contraction. So you're trying to get into that accelerated move higher. All right, and at the moment, just what we're seeing at the moment, there's been a few that are still pretty good, but for entries it may have to be a bit aggressive. So from where we base our trades around and what we look for, we're not seeing that kind of price action just at this moment. So maybe a sign that before, not long ago, we only had 1 or 2 positions. We had a good run. We tried to keep around 10 positions max. We had up to 9, and then they all took some profits on those. Things started looking to roll over. The ASX rolled over. We ended up getting closed out of a few profits, a couple of losses in there, and then we end up with 1 position, built that back up again as the market headed up. And then at the moment, it just seems to be that it's a bit rarer to get a nice little setup, something we like to see anyway. So we've got that in the back of our mind anyway, what could be happening. Just that it could potentially roll over again. It's about risk management. We're risk managers. We're not just jumping in and try to guess the market. We want to see, trade what you see again. All right, let's just take a quick look at this. We've got a few levels through here. You know, that's produced that leg lower. It's popped back up, had another go at the lows, and then we're starting to get higher low build, bit of contraction, and we've just popped up into this 28 zone or 28.5 zone as well. We could be seeing just this leg breaking down a bit. We may be pushing up. We've seen a bit of price action like this, oscillating through that 28.5. Bit of a washout. It's hard to take into account that too much because of the that's through the elections, and then we bounce sort of back up. So whether we're going to see some higher lows hold and then go, we don't know. But that's the structure's starting to form. If that's holding that those lows through here, say 25.50 to 2600, where it touched down through the elections, it's pretty much spot on, just about. If that's another higher low, we've got another higher low, just putting pressure on the upside, then I think anyone who's been watching the banks would probably start to take a nibble, build a portfolio. We don't know how they trade, but that's what could be playing out. But yeah, we don't mind that on ANZ either. It looks like there is signs, at least, at the very minimum. All right, any questions, guys? On the banks, we've gone through the key ones we wanted to. We've got a couple of other people that just put through some charts we want to get through before we finish up. But any questions, just quickly whack them through. Now we've got, we'll just kick it off with a chart from Anne-Marie, if I can just get that up through the email. Hope you don't mind, Anne-Marie, but... Alright, let me just take a snapshot of that. So what we got here, let me just get it. Was it FXL? So a short on that. Now, I think it was really nice price structure. Yeah, actually, no, I think you did very well. I mean, I think you said, what did you say? I must have been interested in the assessment of trade. I ended up getting at a break even. I was not able to watch the market take some profit off on this big spike lower. Yeah, I exited break even. Okay, so it's just your exit was really the issues, and that's what I think you're seeing. Even we did the same type of thing on I think it was Telstra or ASX. Big spike lower. We were short. Big spike lower. I don't know what that is. That's a bit weird. Yeah, we saw a big spike lower, and then just at times like that, when the market's just in just absolute meltdown, and you get that spike lower, sometimes it's just take half off. I think you can lock in something, because a lot of times after that, there's a big reaction back up, and we did see that. And I think on the second half, we took a small loss on that. So all in all, we made some money on ASX, and Telstra was a bit of the same. Had that spike lower, we took it off, but good thing is that kept going. So I think any times you see that type of price action, a spike lower, it's not a bad idea just to lock in something anyway, and then just you can lower your risk to break even, just see how it goes, see if you get that continuation lower, or that may contract, just retest that 235 240 zone and then roll over from there. You don't know, but in essence, what I can see, the way you set up your chart, you've got, you set up your trade. No one can see my arrow. Okay, am I actually seeing? I just want to see if I can. Yeah, well, you can't see. Let me just get that there. The way you set up your chart, you can see you've got lower highs. It was right up here at about $3, right on the left hand side. Then you've got another major lower high pressing down at 255, and you got that inside lower high as well, which is really nice. It produced that leg lower, and you can see that price section which you marked up there. Actually, FXL, let's mark it up ourselves. Look good. I think this is the last one. Okay. I think it was nice anyway. Let's just draw that up there. So you can see that lower high, another lower high through there. That's the one, FXL, wasn't it? Yep. Yeah, and so we got that lower high pressing down here, you got a lower high in here. So it's got some nice price structure through here. That's the one I was looking at. lower high in here, just within that context, you can see that type of price action is playing out time and time again. It's just beautiful. It's actually really nice type of price action. You know, touch up lower high here and broke, and then what you just set up there was really nice. I think if that's where you entered through that break at 220, which I think you did, that's good. That's really good. So I see that as a nice, some really nice price action, nice setup. You followed it well. You're looking for this type of price action, extended move down, even probably in there somewhere, extended move down. You're looking for that leg down to take out those lows. But the only minor detail, you've got to follow the flow, go with the flow, and obviously the weekly's well and truly down. The only thing is, say 1, 2, 3 legs down, and you're looking for a fourth. Sometimes it starts to get a bit tough. The probability is starting to wane, but still, you did get that projection down to 195. You could have easily had if you're watching that, easily had a profitable trade there. But what I do like to see, and what I think you're starting to see more and more from yourself anyway, is those, you've got the breakthrough. Just be patient, wait for that little pop up. That could have just kept going. Okay, you missed a trade, so be it, go on to the next one. But that type of price action, that push down, builds a lower high, and then go for a trade. That could have been a nice one through there with your minimum risk. You've got your risk set. It's already shown you where to put it. Same through here. It's got a breakthrough there. Risk can be just above 235, and then just see how it goes. And you've even had chances to move it down as well. So yeah, really nice. All right, we've got another one. I think there's nothing wrong with that. The only, like I said just before, is the only thing that's taking that. It's just an opportunistic move to take a partial exit. Whether you take half, whether you take a quarter, 3/4, whatever you want, and then just letting the rest run. All right, so great work. Now there's also just a question from Paul. Let me just go back to the. So here we go. Just want to have a look at Macquarie. JHX, which we looked at. Let's just look at Macquarie. Alright. Honestly, that move is higher. I think it's on the monthly, the weekly, we're holding higher lows into that big reaction lower, but we're just coming up into some resistance zone at 85 or thereabouts. Just looking at that, and it's a major, so way back in 2008 too, is right up near 80 to 85. Sort of pushed through that recently in 2015, had a big pullback to start of the year, and then holding higher lows this year into that zone. You can see these higher lows holding, just getting up a bit of that big reaction lows, massive washout. I'd probably like to see a bit of contraction in price before a potential jumping in to buy, but I'd like to see that set up. To buy it here, you could have your risk all the way down here. I'm not comfortable with that at all. I like to see that contraction in, so potential buyers again put it on the sidelines, a bit of a washout, and then it's starting to break and bring those buyers back into the market. With that, but really to do that, you'd want to see a bit of some higher lows build, even some lower highs, and contracting in. I think there's a bit of work to do on Macquarie anyway. Let's look at. God, memory's terrible. What else were you looking at there? JH6. Charts. James Hardy. We've been looking at this one, and I guess we've spoken about this just previously. Had a good leg up, contraction, leg up, contraction, leg up, potential contraction. So that's the way we're viewing this one just at the moment. The only thing else, I guess, it's a slight difference. If we can jump in here. Actually, let's just quickly draw it up. What we're seeing is a slight difference between the two. Contraction lower. Is that this one? Right. This one's a bit more volatile, really not many pullbacks. It's more of a sell-off than a contraction. So we've got 1, 2, lower high build, push back, inside lower, well, double top I guess there, pressure back on, lower low, lower high, lower low, then you started to build here. So that's nice through there. A bit of a tougher one to take. It was a bit preemptive of that breaking out. It could have easily just washed out, bang, or held a double top up here. You don't know, but that type of price actually you can see is a bit different to what we're seeing here Maybe the depth is very similar. It's a bit hard to draw if you understand what I'm saying. It's very similar. But that type of price action is a slight difference in there. It's really, you can see the MA is contracting, and then we started seeing that expansion move. So that would have been nice to get on board that, even just in here, breakthrough in here, that move up would have been nice. But again, just what I'm seeing, we've got our eye on it, but again, I need to see a bit of price action first play out before we jump in. But anyway, that really is, that's a minor pullback, and then you've had another hard sell-off. That's not as controlled as this type of price action. So, you know, if that's the case, we get that minor pullback, that big move down, what we probably want to see is a bit more of this, bit of a push up. You know, just sort of oscillate, you know, hold that sort of level, and, you know, have a few dips lower, it gets bought back up again, buyers are happy to step in, we start to see the selling dissipate, and then those moves started getting a bit harder, those moves up starting to get a bit more volatile, or it's a bit stretched. So yeah, sorry Emma, I just saw you. Yeah, no, great, either way you did well, those things happen. Yeah, so that's what we'd probably like to see on James Hardy. A bit more, just so you can see those buyers start, because that was just after that move down. I'd like to see a bit of that price action before a potential buy, but that's something we've got an eye on. Now, what was the last one? We had two more, and GXY Galaxy. Last one was WFD. Now I know Paul, you've also asked for FMG. We just discussed that, I think, the other day. Either way, I don't think it's set up for a short or a long. It's too stretched to buy. There's no real setup for me to go short. Just at this moment anyway. Just quickly look at it. What's it doing? Yeah, definitely not. That's on a weekly basis, but that's a massive stretch up. It could just be a massive blowout, you don't know, and then we start working away, just a savage sell-off, and then as all these long positions start exiting, we don't know. But I think it's got a fair bit of work to do on FMG anyway before we see signs of a short sell. What was it, that other one? WFD. Whoa, interesting. So you can see it sort of washed out that high. That was way back in 2015. Washed out that high at 1060, 1080 previously, middle of this year, a few months ago, and we've just been selling off since, and took out this low at through 880. If we can see that, that's probably a bit clearer. Right, that's what we're seeing just there. I don't see anything. Just on a monthly, there's no clear indication. Okay, the trend's down. Go with it at the moment. Trying to go to the weekly to see what price action's happening when it's starting to run out of steam. No. In all honesty, that's just gone bang. We've had a move down, a little bounce. Only to see these pops back up are being very shallow, and it's been some hard selling. You know, one day up, bit of a inside bar, not an inside bar there. What do you call them? Hammer, whatever you want to call them. Shooting star. There's all sorts of names. And then another extended move down, a little pop, you know, 3 or 4 days straight down, and then we get the pop just at the moment on the weekly. Now it's got a lot of work to do for me on the weekly chart, especially after that blowout of the highs. A lot of weekly, a lot of price action to play out, a lot of work to do. You go to the daily, it's not much better. That leg down is really still holding down at 880, 890. I think a lot of work to do. The only thing is, I mean, difference between trading and just, I guess, not investing, like just punting, really, is trading. You got to see the price action set up. You got to trade what you see. At the moment, you'd want to be short. Now, I wouldn't, purely because it's extended lower. So just going in and saying it's been sold quite heavily, I'll buy it. I think that's the wrong way to attack things. There could be a lot of price action to play out. You could be sitting at the minimum. You could be right. You could pick the lows, but it could consolidate for a year. You know, just bounce around in a range. You don't know. You'd want to see that price action play out first before you start attacking it. Then what was the last one? We had Galaxy. So I hope that helped, Paul, anyway, if you're watching it later. GXY. Now on the flip side, this is one we're starting to see. This is a daily chart, so you can see those MAs they've rolled over. We've been making lower highs, but what we've just started making recently is we're just holding up that 30-cent level. Had a bit of a push down, that was bought back up again. I guess that's over the elections. So that 30 level's holding up. just after washing it, well, pushing through it previously back in end of September. And then we've just taken out that lower high at 35. Okay, just recently over the last few days. And even we took out that 37.5 mark, a bit of a push up. That was through. So let's just draw that up actually. Before I do that, I'll just adjust my chart. No, that's not right. So yeah, if we can remember everything I was saying, it's just a general view, my opinion. But we've just got our eye on this one too, and I think we've discussed this before. Have we, Clement? I'm pretty sure we have. You mentioned it and actually didn't look too bad. So we've got a level through here at 30. Highs through here, just been chipped out. I mean, that's more of a double top than anything else. You'd want to see it sort of hold below there, even push a bit higher, then pull back. So what we want to see, you can see the MA's got a contracting on themselves. I think just by looking at that, it's still a bit of price action to do. The thing we are starting to like, you can see that. So what I like to see, you get that move lower, making push, pop back up, push lower, that sort of move, and then we've essentially had that push back down to here. You can see that making lower highs, lower lows. It's popped back up, failed to make another low, which you would have expected to keep going down, then build, make a lower high, but it hasn't. It's sort of held that level, and then we've pushed up, had another go at it, and buyers have stepped in. So you can see that. So the key level really holding it down was just at 37.5, and we've just popped up. So you can see 30 holding, and you can see it contracting in as that resistance line's lowering, and then we just popped out through it. So that's the initial sign of what we like to see. I don't know if you can see that there. This type of price action that's pushed up, made it, tried, gone, what we like to see. So we're starting to see that now. Alright, now if we just draw in what we want to see from here, and while we've got an eye on it, I like to see these lows holding, even a a higher low building, bit of contraction just below that breakout. So it's just it's dragging in buyers or potential buyers and just getting rid of some sellers. So anyone that's thinking to sell, starting to see this price action going, hang on a sec, this is looking all right. And you can see that, and then we might get that that push back up. So we want to be involved in that accelerated move up after some high lows are held. We've got that initial break through resistance, even at 37.5. So the signs are building on this one. We just want to see a bit more price action to contract, and then potentially we get our setup. You'll see it come through anyway. Anyway, we'll probably have to call it quits about there, guys. I'm pretty sure we've got through everything. Any questions? Quickly chuck it in. I'll have another sip of coffee. Whoops, nearly dropped that. But yeah, I think yeah, that wasn't too bad. We'll just see where the market is now. If anyone's got any questions, you can quickly whack it in just before we shoot off. And again, any topics that you would like to discuss. So far we've gone through some gold, we've gone through some bank, and a couple of pharmaceutical things that we're looking at and what we like. Obviously, it's great having a discussion about these things, and then different areas. And then we got some stocks we're looking at. Actually, just while you're here, if you're watching, this is what we spoke about. The NTI, again, I can't say it, Neurotech International Limited. That was one we spoke about a couple of days ago. You can see that held in here. We didn't mind it through 34.5. Just missed it today, to be honest. It's done 200,000 now. It's not a massive, it's not big volume, so that would have been a bit, just to be careful if you were trading that one. But yeah, it's touched on 38 now. It's looking quite good. And again, because it's only been on for a few days, really, say 2 weeks, 3 weeks. There's no resistance zones. There's no no limit to upside. It's all clear skies at the moment. So it's a good one just to keep an eye on that and just see how it trades anyway. All right. If there's no questions, guys, we'll call it quits. Yeah, if you've got any ideas of what you might want to join in on, or what you might want to chat about, what's tomorrow, Thursday? Might be just looking at preparation again and just breaking down a market. And I guess we've done that time and time again through going through the charts, going through monthly, weekly, daily, looking at zones. And I guess what a lot of people just got to do or get used to is just, and what we like to do is just assessing what a market could do going forward and what you like to see. So you could potentially spend a lot of time on charts, planning, prepping, and then nothing happens. Um, but that's fine, because for every 10 you do, you only need one to work out beautifully and kick off, and you've done your job. Um, so yeah, we could probably go through that again in the next couple of days. Just talk about prep work again, but we'll just watch out for the alert later this afternoon on what we're going to discuss tomorrow. Just got to plan ahead. So yeah, thanks again for joining us. Any charts you want to send through, anything at all, any trades you did, you just want to just go through it. If you don't mind putting it up on the screen, I'm more than happy to do that myself. I might even just get some charts in the coming days of trades I've done. Had a couple on the SPY today, which net break even, a loss and a winner, just to cover that loss and a little bit more, but really is a break even trade. So I'm happy to talk about that. But yeah, anything you want to send through, send it to support@tradesetup.com.au, and yeah, we'll go through it. But thanks for joining us, guys, and we will speak to you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.